When you're always focused on the customer, it's almost like you're trying to do the right thing over the long term. But sometimes in the short term, because you're maybe not taking, are you seeing that there's even more challenges that come or less when you go with this mentality?
Well, you know what's also good for the customer? To be profitable. Like I tell people, they want to go raise a bunch of money, they want to spend all this money. I'm like, you're hurting the customer and you're also hurting your employees when you're not running a profitable business. We didn't hire our first employee for 5 years until we hit 10 million of revenue. We decided to just wear every hat. Why? Because if you're not profitable, you're suffering. It's like a body that has a disease when you're not profitable. It's not healthy. So we did a retreat with our 200 employees and we put our numbers and our profits on the board. We said, look at how much money we as a company are making. And this is important because if we didn't have profit, we can't reinvest that back into higher quality systems, back into your bonuses, back into your education, back into like what we want to do now is we want to be a level of testing of our products that no brand in the world does. And it's going to cost so much money, but that money has to come from somewhere. And because there's profit, we can reinvest that back into higher levels of testing. So it's also not selfish to run a profitable company. It's also not selfish to run a company where, by the way, if you have B or C players, like I'm going to say this to all those who are running a business right now, every quarter we examine who's operating at that B or C level. And what does that mean? B or C level just means they act like they don't really want to be there. Their heart and soul's not in it. Or maybe they're the right person in the wrong seat, or they're the wrong person. And if we don't look into that and challenge them and basically say, hey, let us support you to get you to what is an A, or let us help you find another job. If we don't have that conversation, we are screwing over the customer. There's nothing more toxic for the customer, for the company, and for the employees than keeping people who don't want to be there or who are taking advantage of the situation because they don't know what else to do. You understand? Like we're changing it. So can firing be a giving thing? Yes. Can layoffs be a giving thing? Absolutely. Are founders often putting their head in the sand because they're afraid of confrontation? Or maybe that person's been with you since the beginning and, they helped build you to a certain point, but now they're not good enough to go to that next level, but you're afraid to do anything about it. Those have been the employees that have caused the most problems. And guess what? They have another soulmate company waiting for them that might even pay them more money and better opportunity. Like, what do we know? But we got to do what's right for the customer.
So it sounds like having that pulse on the customer is kind of the anchor in the philosophy of running these big businesses. So I'd be curious to know, what are some of the key habits you do or think about to make sure that you're never, assuming what the customer wants, but truly doing what you think is the best for the customer?
So here's one of the spiritual things that I do. I walk around my city. Literally, I'm just walking the street for hours. And I ask the universe, what does the consumer want? I literally just ask out loud. And then what I do is I find random people on the street. And I look kind of weird doing it, but I say, hey, can I ask you a question? They go, sure. Like I walk by Air One. I do this all the time. Like, can I ask you a question? Yeah. What vitamin brand do you trust for your family? And some of the best product ideas, the ones that have generated, the biggest amounts of revenue came from me asking a random person on the street because I've already put the energy out to the universe that I want the universe to channel through the next person I talk through, right? So I'm not doing these big $100,000 like focus groups and whatnot. I'm just asking people on the street, what do you need? What do you not have? What scares you as a mom? Somebody once said, what scares me as a mom is heavy metals. I think within a week, we joined a program called Clean Label Project Verified. And we had all 270 of our products tested, cost us millions of dollars a year, and we have to retest them every year. We test them for 200 heavy metals, toxins, pesticides, and plastics. Because someone in a grocery store told me she's worried about heavy metals for her child. And that is just like a way that, just asking random people is just something I like to do as a founder because I think that the universe will send you the right people that you need to hear from if your desire is there.
I really love that. As someone that talks about selling with love, for me, it's all about getting in a pulse from the customers. And I find that when you go through doing surveys, looking at just like data. That's, there's good things you can get from, vast amounts of data, but there's this heart connection of speaking to people
Yes.
that I think is missed in the line items of numbers,
Yes. Yes. First 5 years, I made sure to read every single question that came in from the consumer because I was feeling them. I looked at their address. I looked at where they lived. I like visualized, okay, this person's in Tennessee. Like, who is this person? I tried to connect with them. And I remember when my first child was born, Amazon has this thing where you have to respond to questions within 24 hours or you get penalized. And I was in the room and MaryRuth was in labor. And I said to her, I said, like, we have, and she saw me on the laptop and she said, hey, look, make sure you answer all these questions. It's okay. Like, she was in labor and we were there and I laughed and she's like, she's the one who always told me this. The customer always comes first. So if you want to know if MaryRuth really believes in the consumer, she wanted to make sure I responded to those customer service questions while she was in labor in the birthing room.
Okay.
I mean, part of it was she had her doula, so she's like, hey, look, I need to just be with her right now, and, you need to, leave. So that kind of was part of it, but at least the consumer was still on her mind.
Thank you so much for listening to the Selling with Love podcast. We have some previous episodes you can tune into right here. And if you prefer the short form content where you get to the point in under 10 minutes, we do have a ton of clips from our best episodes that are being shared on this channel as well. So pick which one supports you the most. And of course, thank you for liking, subscribing, and of course, selling with love.